On today's Locked On NBA Game Night podcast, the Lakers stay alive for that 3-seed chase as they get a big win over the Warriors. The Knicks pull off a win over Boston. We'll talk about that on today's show.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
Let's get it going on the Locked On NBA Game Night podcast on Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. I'm Rylan Stiles, host of Locked On Thunder. That's David Ramil, host of Locked On Heat. We're taking you through what happened on this Thursday in the NBA. David, last week of the regular season, and this day today got started out with a big one. Boston and New York going at it. New York wins it 112-106. Let's go out to Locked On Knicks and hear how this happened.
Knicks fans, do you hear that? It's the sound of the Knicks flipping the switch. It is playoff time, and the Knicks win 112-106 over the Boston Celtics in a playoff atmosphere at Madison Square Garden. And it looks like the Knicks are getting on all systems go, getting ready for the playoffs. An excellent, exciting, dramatic, energizing game that the Knicks end up pulling off. Incredible shot making by Josh Hart, who showed up and basically was getting dared to shoot early in the game, as he typically does against the Celtics. Although they did not put the big on him, they put Jayson Tatum on him for most of the game. Josh Hart was passing up shots a little bit early, started taking more shots early in the third quarter, and down the stretch hit big three after big three off the dribble, catch and shoot. He was doing everything for the Knicks. Jalen Brunson, Karl-Anthony Towns, pick and rolls. Brunson playing like an elite orchestrator out of the pick and roll, basically challenging everybody who's ever said he's not a great passer, because he played like a great passer and orchestrator out of the pick and roll. Excellent game all around from Brunson, Towns, Hart. OG had his contributions. Mitchell Robinson played excellent defense on Jayson Tatum a lot of the game when he was in switching coverages. And the Knicks just did just enough defensively to hold on and win this one. Playoff atmosphere at the Garden, a blast. And the Knicks take down the Celtics in a huge game. I think it's just a sign of things to come. The switch might be flipped.
The switch might be flipped on the Knicks, David. We've talked a lot about these Knicks on these Thursdays. Now, the playoff atmosphere is real. These two teams might meet up in the NBA postseason in round two. If the standings were to freeze today and both these teams would advance, it would be a fun matchup between these two sides. Do you think that today was a preview of how fun this series would end up being?
I think it'll be interesting, but there is one caveat to tonight's game: the fact that Jaylen Brown wasn't available. You probably wouldn't get the same kind of performance you get from Shireman if Brown is available. But at the same time, missing one of the top players in the league and a guy who's had an incredible season and not having him available in tonight's matchup certainly kind of takes away some of the impact of what the Knicks did. But, I think it would be a fun series regardless. I think there's a lot of history there. Some great matchups, two teams that have tasted the postseason and know exactly what to do. And especially with a Knicks group that does seem to rise to the occasion, especially in clutch moments. So I think it would be a really good matchup.
It'd be a lot of fun to see these teams go at it. And John Corrales of Locked On Celtics, he has us covered for the Celtics side of things.
Josh Hart had a big fourth quarter. The Celtics lose to the Knicks. I'm John Corrales from the Locked On Celtics podcast. Celtics didn't really adjust much in this game, and that's the thing that stood out to me the most, is that they played a traditional defense against the Knicks, where you normally would expect Neemias Queta or whoever is at center to play on Josh Hart, a wing to play on Karl-Anthony Towns, and to kind of attack the Knicks defensively from there. But the Celtics spent 99% of this game playing their center on Karl-Anthony Towns and just kind of living with the result. Queta was attacked in the fourth quarter over and over and over again. He had a tough stretch there in the fourth quarter. He was also part of the reason why the Celtics were even in this game in the first place, with a lot of his offensive rebounding when the Celtics couldn't shoot early on. So give and take in this one. This is not the Celtics I would expect to see in the playoffs. But once again, the Knicks take advantage of Boston centers, so that is a little bit problematic and something to look at. Baylor Shireman, great game from him. And that was fun to see. A great game overall. Tatum kind of struggled a little bit offensively down the stretch. A lot to talk about on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Go check out Locked On Celtics. And David, he said it right there. John is spot on. There are ways for New York to create advantages against Boston in a potential playoff series. But what you have to kind of ask yourself whenever you're predicting how a series is going to unfold is how frequently can New York take advantage of that front court with Boston? I don't know that that's enough to overcome. Like you mentioned, they didn't have Brown today. Having Brown in order and just getting a better effort from Boston in a postseason format, I would still lean Boston in this series. And I feel pretty confident in doing so based upon the track record of this entire season.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think Celtics have shown to be the better team, and it's a narrow margin maybe, but considering they were missing a player like Jayson Tatum for most of the season, the fact that they've been as good as they have been, I think really underscores how good this team has been. I think somewhat quietly, right? Because there's always that big question about Tatum and his return, and he's looked great since he's come back. But now they enter another phase of trying to prove everybody yet again that they can be an actual title contender. So I think it'd be a heck of a matchup. And to John's point, yeah, that center position can be exploited a little bit defensively, but I think Boston has enough to compensate for that. They could always go a little small and see if they can change things around a little bit. I don't know if that's going to really help necessarily, but I just have to score just enough to be able to get past Jalen Brunson, especially in those fourth quarter situations.
Yeah, and it will largely hinge on stuff like shot variance, of course, which I think that last year's series bared that out as well, where Boston just did not hit enough threes to play to their identity. You could see this year, if Josh Hart can go 5 for 7 more often than not in that second round series, all of a sudden, then you're thinking about things differently, but your expression says it all. That's not something that you can count on.
Yeah, the broadcast was interesting how they were talking about, they shouldn't really sag off of a Hart in those kind of situations. I think that's just the way he's going to be defended, and I mean for good reason. He's not a consistent shooter, but can he knock those down on occasion? Sure, but that's not what New York's chances of advancing are going to be hinging upon. It's going to be about that pick and roll situation between him and Karl-Anthony Towns. Brunson and Cat, I think, is really the bread and butter there. And yeah, you're going to get some key performances from Hart. OG and Anunoby are certainly going to have their moments as well. And you can have other guys step up occasionally, but it's interesting. The Knicks team, like most of the teams in the East, as we've talked about very often, has some weaknesses, but has quite a few strengths as well. And it's still wide open as far as I'm concerned. I don't know that there's any team that really stands out as far as a clear favorite, but that's why these games have to be played. And I'm curious to see who does wind up emerging victorious.
Yeah, we'll see who ends up coming out of this series. And if we do get it in round 2, we'll see how the playoff bracket gets set. We did find out that the Lakers stay alive in their pursuit of that 3 seed out west. Let's talk about that Lakers win. Despite being hobbled, they're able to beat Golden State. Let's talk about some more unfortunate injury news for the Philadelphia 76ers and your Miami Heat taking on the Toronto Raptors. So much to dive into. We'll dive into it all on today's Locked On NBA Game Night podcast. But first, I want to say right now, my good friends over at BetterHelp, go check out BetterHelp today, folks, because let me tell you, this episode is not only sponsored by BetterHelp, but we all know that financial stress is something that a lot of people are carrying right now. It's not just about numbers. It can affect your sleep, your relationships, your overall mental health, and the ways that build up over time. And the reality is, struggling with money doesn't mean that you've failed. Sometimes it just means you haven't had the right kind of support. It's something I've thought about, how easy it is to put pressure on yourself financially without really talking it out. Folks, the stress that comes with trying to figure everything out on your own for the first time especially is massive. The expectations you feel to have everything together and how that pressure can spill into other areas of your life. Therapy is not about financial advice, but it is about working through the stress, the anxiety, the emotions that come with financial struggles. And with over 30,000 licensed therapists and more than 6 million people served, BetterHelp makes it easy to get matched and start focusing on what you need. When life feels overwhelming, therapy can help. Sign up today to get 10% off at betterhelp.com/lockedonNBA. That's betterhelp, HELP.com/lockedonnba. Also, want to say right now, but good friends over at FanDuel, go check out FanDuel today because the NBA playoffs are here right around the corner where every possession matters, every matchup is magnified, and every game can swing a series. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a great way to get in on the action. And here's what I like about FanDuel, folks. You can bet just $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. The app makes it easy to follow the action with player stats, trends, matchups, and more in one place. And during the playoffs, the extra insight really matters when you're looking at stars, role players, key moments. It's not about anything other than the playoffs here when we're talking about experiences that you want to be fully immersed in, and you can immerse in them from start to finish. Go to FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel player game. That's FanDuel.com to get started, where you can go see the title favorites, the Oklahoma City Thunder, plus 115, the San Antonio Spurs, plus 500. Those Celtics we just talked about are plus 550 over there at FanDuel.com. Go check them out today. We're back on the Locked On NBA Game Night Podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. I'm Rylan Stiles, host of Locked On Thunder. That's David Ramil, host of Locked On Heat. David, let's go out to Andy Kamenetsky of Locked On Lakers to hear how the Lakers were able to get this win over Golden State.
Kamenetsky, co-host of the Locked On Lakers podcast. The Lakers get a 119-103 win over the Warriors in SF. It was against a very depleted Golden State, including no Steph Curry, but also on the heels of 3 losses for the Lakers, the last featuring some tension between J.J. Redick and a few players. So they really needed a palate cleanse, and they needed a win to try to keep their 4 seed. 26 points, 8 rebounds, 11 assists, plus 2 steals and a block for LeBron James, who briefly scared Laker fans when he left the game after hurting his hand on the backboard on a blocked shot. But he re-entered the game and looked absolutely fine. 21 points for DeAndre Ayton, all 5 Laker starters in double figures, a potentially more difficult game ahead of them Friday versus the Phoenix Suns. But this was a win that they really needed to get, even if the competition was not particularly impressive. For more Lakers coverage, make sure you're watching Locked On Lakers on YouTube and listening wherever you get your podcasts.
David, do you agree with that? Because I certainly do, that the Lakers cannot apologize for winning this game. They had to get this win. They needed this win. And any win that you get whenever you're down Marcus Smart, Austin Reeves, Luka, whenever you're down Jackson Hayes, when you're down your rotation for the most part, you get a win, you say thank you, and you move forward to tomorrow night, especially whenever you're not only trying to, as Andy put it, defend your 4th seed. You don't want these surging Rockets to catch you and make you have a disadvantage here and have the Houston be at home court in that 4-5 matchup. But you're also still in pursuit of that 3 seed with the Denver Nuggets, and you can really push for that if you're able to win on the second night of a back-to-back. Yes, it'll be hard given their injury limitations, but they can try to push for that 3 seed still, whereas if they would have lost today, it would have really been just focusing on 4 versus 5 with Houston. So I think ultimately, yes, they didn't play anybody. No, this was no statement about their status moving forward, but it was a big win in the sense of how jumbled the standings are.
Absolutely. I mean, there are no statement games at game 80 of the regular season. Like, we've heard plenty, we've seen enough. I think that's the sample size where you actually know what kind of team it is. And at the same time, you're still trying to notch these wins that are crucial for whatever it is that you're trying to avoid, whether it's or trying to establish, whether it's a home court advantage or to be able to continue to move up in the standings. And, you can't determine the quality of your opponent. So a win's a win. And it was a good win, considering how shorthanded the Lakers were. It was a strong win from them, and certainly something that they needed to get right after losing in a row. And I don't know. I still think at the same time, watching this Lakers team, I don't know that any group has been as inconsistent over the course of the season. They've had their stretches. There have been some good games, some bad games, and I'm curious to see how it all pans out, especially determining whether or not Luka Doncic is going to be healthy and available to play. That's always going to be a key factor no matter what. So the Lakers still trying to do what they can and trying to continue to hold their place in the standings.
Whenever you look at that standings right now, Oklahoma City is locked into 1, San Antonio is locked into 2, but the Rockets at 5, the Lakers at 4, and the Nuggets at 3, that they can all change places here in that top 6 in the Western Conference to varying degrees. Sticking with the Lakers right now, if you had to guess how this week wraps up, do you think that you'll see the Lakers in that 4-5, or do you think that with the ability to scrap together a couple wins here, they can find their way back to that 3 seed along with having the tiebreaker?
I think they'll finish 4th. I think they'll wind up holding tough there. And look, that's fine. I mean, at least you still have home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs. So it should be. I think eventually they wind up getting it done. I like Denver's chances of holding on to the 3rd seed.
I'm with you there, especially whenever you look at Oklahoma City today, not going to play a soul against the Denver Nuggets this Friday night. But let's go out to, speaking of the injury report, let's go out to Philadelphia as the Sixers got more bad news ahead of their game against Houston and then fell to the Rockets.
I was reminded tonight of one of the greatest calls ever in the history of the career of Harry Callis when I watched the 76ers take on the Houston Rockets tonight. And it was actually against another Houston team, the Houston Astros, that Harry made the call. It was, all the runs are unearned, but so what? After that Craig Biggio home run after a couple errors in an inning, I think is how it went down. But Sixers were playing their biggest game of the season, but it had already been known that Joel Embiid was done with appendicitis and had already had surgery. We won't see him again this season, says the smart money. So even though the Sixers had the biggest game of the year, trying to keep pace with the Toronto Raptors for the sixth and final regular playoff seed out of the play-in tournament, so what? Sixers actually made a run despite being down 28 points. Fourth quarter, they opened it up, outscoring the Rockets 22-6. But Kevin Durant said, so what? And helped the Rockets go on a run of their own to make sure that they sealed the deal with the 113-102 victory.
Well, David, so what seems to be the message out of Philadelphia, and it's hard to blame them. They certainly did not have their fastball out of the gate, getting down by 28 points. He mentioned they cut it down. They kind of got back into it, and then KD shut the door on them. But no matter if they won or lost this game, David, then as they lose 113-102 to Houston, the story of this game was going to always be Joel Embiid and his appendicitis, and that he is out for the rest of the regular season. And if you, to his point, take the smart money and you look at the average of games missed for appendicitis in NBA history, likely signaling he's out for the entire playoff run, but certainly the play-in tournament next week for Philadelphia if they find themselves there trying to survive it. The news today, the game today, do you now count out Philadelphia from all contention status, even just to make the actual playoff field? Or do you still think that, hey, an Embiid, this Philly team, if they are in the play-in, could navigate their way to a 7 or 8 seed?
I think a play-in tournament team, I think as in the plan, they could probably find a way to win it and get into a first round matchup. But once they get into the postseason, it's not going to make much of a difference without Joel Embiid. Like, that was their best chance of being able to find a way to continue to advance against a top seed. So without Embiid, that's just not going to happen. And it's unfortunate because there's a sense of kind of futility to everything. It's like you're going through the motions of this game and not really playing for anything because ultimately, it doesn't really matter. So you're going to be in the play-in tournament. It depends on who you match up against. You're still going to have to find a way to win, likely without Embiid, and try to find a way to, I don't know, just find a purpose to this season with everything they've gone through from last year all the way up to this point. We've had moments here and there, but now you're really just a few days away from entering the tournament and having to figure out how to win without your best player, or one of your best players anyway.
That's right. Let's talk about your Heat, who lost to the Raptors today. And we'll also get to the Pacers crushing the Nets and the Chicago Bulls. They're still playing basketball for some reason. We'll talk about all that coming up. But first, I want to tell you right now, my good friends over at PrizePicks, go check out PrizePicks today, because PrizePicks is incredible. The playoff push is heating up, and the tournament hoops are here. The NBA playoffs are right around that corner. There's no better way to get in on the action than the high-flying action with PrizePicks, America's #1 sports picks app. Every bucket, every assist, every big moment means when you're building your lineups with PrizePicks that you're going to be very excited and very immersed in what's going on. PrizePicks makes it simple to play. It's daily fantasy built around player projections, so you can stay locked into every game. And it's so easy. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, which means it's quick and easy to jump into. You can mix and match the different sports also: basketball, baseball, hockey, and more. For example, you can take more on Lou Dort points today and more on Bobby Witt Jr. hits today. The features like early payouts make it fun as well. You can lock in a win early if the player that you picked gets off to a hot start. And it's a fun way to stay engaged, especially during the most important stretch of the season. Go download that PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Go check them out today. We're back on the Locked On NBA Game Night podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. I'm Rylan Stiles. That's David Ramil. David, let's head out to the Pacers and hear how they crushed the Brooklyn Nets in a game that was played today.
Completely embarrassed the Nets, 123-94. Tony East here with Locked On Pacers. A double inverse standings game. The Nets needed to lose a little bit more than the Pacers, and they played like it. Nobody over 6'7" on the floor for the Nets, and the Pacers just pummeled them on the interior. 80 points in the paint for the Pacers in this game, a season high. They're 3-0, and they have at least 66. Obi Toppin, terrific with a season high 26. Jay Huff was scoring inside. Micah Potter was scoring inside. And that helped on defense. 94 points for the Nets is obviously not very many, but the Nets had 8 points in a couple minutes, and then only 4 more the rest of the first quarter as the Pacers defense got them a huge lead that they never let go in this game. Pacers crawl a little closer to out of the bottom 3 in the lottery, but not so far away. They're 1 loss away from locking up the top possible odds. It was going to be tough to lose this particular game, but they have 2 more at home to close the season. We'll have much more on this win and more on Locked On Pacers.
Go check out Locked On Pacers to hear how the Pacers are going to be trying to figure things out to lose and to tank and to try to get the best odds possible. The Pacers are the most interesting tanking team to watch for come May because of their convoluted protections with the Clippers, where they might give their pick to the Clippers, even for as bad of a season this was, all for Zoo. But for their sake, you hope that they are able to keep that pick. David, we also saw another tanking battle go down before we get to your Heat. The Chicago Bulls, who cleaned their front office out this week, lost 119-108 to the Washington Wizards. It was the Wizards who got the loss in this game, but the win in the tanking standings, which is oddly enough what everyone cares about from this one. Will Riley had 23 points, but he did so on 22 shots for Washington. And then for the Bulls, you saw Trey Jones play in this one for 31, going for 31 points on 64% shooting. Colin Sexton with 27 points on 57% shooting. It was a point fest, including for my guy Leonard Miller, who might have the ugliest jump shot in the NBA, but hey, it went in 2 for 2 from 3 in this game he turned in a double-double with 26 points and 11 rebounds. David, the game question for this one is just, you 100% agree with the decision to clear the front office in Chicago, don't you?
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. To be honest with you, I've kind of, even as I've gotten older, tend to think that these decisions are a little rash. Like, I don't know if there was a clear vision there, but I also think that teams do tend to react somewhat hastily, and you've got to be able to build somewhere. And look, you have to have a clear foundation. You have to have a clear vision. You have to have a shared vision from your top person, from your team owner, all the way on down. And I think the Bulls have been missing that. And you hire somebody, and the expectation is that they're going to fit in and create that culture, that system that's going to be implemented, not just in one season, but moving forward. And it's the foundation of something. And it just feels like for Chicago, they've never really had a clear idea of where to move forward. They've just kind of been hanging there as just one of those teams. And, they weren't content with the play-in tournament, and now they've decided to go in another direction. So I don't know that they were ever good enough to actually be a playoff team. So I'm a little surprised. I don't know if it necessarily falls in the front office. I don't know that they could have done anything differently. So I'm a little torn. I'm curious. How do you feel? I mean, do you think it's the right decision to just blow up the front office the way they did?
Yeah, I think that it's just in need of a fresh start there. I mean, that they had a strange tenure where the joke was that they were always on that treadmill of mediocrity, and it looked like they had picked a direction at this deadline. And it was interesting that they kept them in place long enough to do that, to where like you let them pick the direction, and then you haven't let them see anything through from the direction that they finally picked. Like they haven't gotten one draft out of the tanking bunch. They've only tanked for half of a season, and they didn't even finish the tanking part of the season. And like that part of it is strange, of just letting them have the keys, letting them make that direction pick, and then pulling the plug, versus like all these other years where they've been in the middle for no real reason with no real plan. It seemed like for the first time they're all on the same page of the plan is sink to the bottom, and yes, you're going to stay there, and yes, you're going to build from the ground up, but at least you have a direction. And then just out of the blue one day that they make this move. So I think from that standpoint, it is interesting. From that standpoint, it perhaps is a bit unfair, but the body of work of this front office was not very good. And now the hire becomes the most important part. And what you said is 100% right. The ownership in Chicago has to be better. They have to give this next regime time. They have to give this next regime a clear-cut plan of, as an owner, what do you want? Do you want this team to be mediocre? Do you want this team to bottom out? That way they can come out on the other side as championship caliber? What do you want to do? Because largely that's going to control how everyone else reacts. Everyone reacts differently compared to the job security they think they do or do not have. So it was an interesting move. I do think it was something that can help Chicago moving forward. But we do still have one more game on the board here.
One quick question, though. I'm curious. Do you think Billy Donovan remains as head coach? Because I think he's done.
I do think he's done as well. I don't know if he's done from the standpoint of the organization. Like the it was just too weird to talk about how like, oh, we would respect Billy if he wanted to be in the front office. Like to throw that out there at the press conference earlier this week. Perhaps it's like a smoke signal of like, yeah, we're going to move this guy to a front office role.
It's
Whether
a
he has
soft
complete
firing.
control, a soft launching of the firing. It could be that, and maybe he really does love Billy, and his words were genuine, and like it's not even a firing, more and almost like a promotion of sorts. Like Billy, you're done coaching, but you are going to have complete control of the organization. I like you, I'm skeptical that that's the way it goes. I think that it'll be a special advisor role, and we all know what that means. He ain't going to do anything for this organization. If I had to guess, that's the way I think that it goes for Billy Donovan and the Bulls here. But, a clean slate for Chicago, and at least they know I hope that they know what to expect. You should be tanking at this point moving forward, but you can't put anything past that organization. But we can't put anything past Heat culture either. They lost to Toronto, and let's cut to Sean Woodley of Locked On Raptors.
The Raptors just keep on owning the Miami Heat. Sean here. The Raptors take down the Heat 128-114 to sweep the 4-game season series and a pair of games in Toronto this week against Miami. And it's a huge one for the Raptors, coupled with the Sixers losing in Houston. It seems very likely the Raptors are going to finish in the top 6 of the Eastern Conference. They essentially got to win one of their last 2 games against the Knicks or the Nets on Sunday. The Knicks one could be fun tomorrow, as the Raptors also still have the 5th seed kind of on the table. If they can win out these final 2 games, they will be the 5 seed. And I think you'd probably, if you're the Raptors, rather play the Cavaliers than the Knicks. The Knicks have owned the Raptors all season long. And the Cavaliers, while very good and very talented, are a team the Raptors have had some success against. They haven't played the James Harden Cavs yet, but they were 3-0 earlier in the year against them. And the Cavs are a team that doesn't have a lot of wing defense, and the Raptors are a team that has a lot of wings. And so I think that's who you'd rather see. Either way, really impressive to see the Raptors take down the Heat so comfortably in 2 straight games over the course of this week. And they head into New York tomorrow, hoping to make it 3 straight wins.
Well, the Raptors are aiming for 3 straight wins. David, the Raptors owned the Heat. What did you see from this matchup?
Oh, it doesn't really matter. Like the Heat have given up on the season. I don't know what's going on there. The reality just seems to be that they don't have any clear style of play that they can use at this point. The fast-paced offense worked so well earlier in the year, and now towards the end of it, it's kind of tapered off. It's no longer effective. Their defense is just completely fallen apart, and there just seems to be a sense of already finality to the season. I don't expect them to win a game in the play-in tournament, despite what we've seen from this group in the past. There's no Jimmy Butler who's going to ride his chariot in to save them. This team is done. So they've given up on the season, despite what Eric Spoelstra believes about this group. He seems to still be encouraged by what he thinks is what this team is capable of. But I think we've seen enough, and honestly, I don't have any expectation for them trying to find anything to muster any sort of energy and be able to find a way to continue to win here. So they're waiting for the end of the season. They're stuck in the play-in tournament just as they have been for the last 3 years. And today's game was no different. They just were lackluster, no defense, didn't really seem to care, and didn't have a clear option on offense either. They don't have that star-level player who's capable of getting things done. So everything just has to break right, and they have to get a number of players to chip in at a reasonably high level because of that lack of a superstar.
Now, David, I know that you guys have covered this on your show extensively. When you're looking at Bam and some of his quotes about the play-in tournament, not wanting to be a play-in team any longer, do you think that that's just normal frustration just with the season, or do you think that that might be the storyline? If you don't believe they're going to win a game in the play-in, I totally respect that viewpoint. Nobody knows the Heat like you do, and if they're going to not win a game in the play-in, they're going to be done after about Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. So to carry you through the summertime, is that going to be a quote that is referenced a lot, or do you think that it's like, hey, Bam is still a Heat guy, Bam is still about the Heat? That was just a quote that's like amid a frustrating season.
No, I think he's looking for active changes here. The players in the roster just haven't been able to do enough, and that falls on him too. Like, I mean, he was largely ineffective for the first few months of the season, and he continued to improve. And obviously, there's the 83-point game that everybody will point to. That was an incredible moment, and yet I think by and large, everybody has struggled. You got an all-star season out of Norm Powell, and goes down with injury and he's not really that effective, and he's not a clear number one. I think we've known that over the course of his career. So I think he's been active in calling for changes for quite some time. And I think he was hoping that they would be able to pull something off in the summer or maybe even at the trade deadline to kind of change this roster, bring some new energy to this group that desperately needs it. And so I think he's frustrated. I don't think we're at that point yet where we can start circling the wagons to see whether or not he's requesting a trade or anything like that. But I wouldn't be surprised if the beginnings of that start to form if nothing gets done over the offseason.
So you made your prediction on the Heat's play-in. If the standings were to end like this, and it's Sixers, Magic, and at 7 and 8, if it's Hornets, Heat, who are the two that survive and make the playoff field for you out east?
I would say the Hornets, just based on what we've
Yep.
seen from them. I think they're too good. And honestly, with Philadelphia continuing to struggle, I don't see their chances either. So I would say Orlando and Charlotte will advance.
I 100% agree with you. If this is how it breaks out, I think that's the exact path as well. The Magic win against Philadelphia, and they play Boston, and then the Hornets beat your Heat, then they beat the Sixers, and then they go play against Detroit. So we'll see if the standings shape up this way. David, this time next week, we'll not have any games to cover, but we'll have a whole lot of playoff previews to have happen. Almost every single series will be solidified but 2, and of those 2 series without a for sure opponent, there's only 4 possible chances between the 2. So we'll have a lot of playoff previews to get to, what we're most watching for, what we're most excited about during playoff basketball, maybe some favorite playoff memories as well, but it'll be a lot of fun once we get to that point on Thursday. David, this was a lot of fun today. Folks, go check out Locked On Heat for David Ramil. Go check out Locked On Thunder for me. Go check out whatever your favorite team is, and stay right here for Locked On NBA, the daily show coming up this afternoon as well. Until next time, be good and be good to one another.